Hi everyone, welcome back. This is part 2 of the Maamer Roni Bas Tzion, which the Rebbe said in Tafshin Chav Zayin, which was 1967, Shabbos Parashat Ba'al Yisrael, which is this week's parasha, and Roni Bas Tzion is the first pasuk of the Haftarah for this week. All right, just a quick recap. The Maamer goes to bring two questions. The second one being like the more the basis for this Maamer. The Rebbe will go on to really explain the second question more than the first, but the two questions are, we have this Haftarah, Roni Bas Tzion, and from the Alter Rebbe's Maamer, which he said regarding Hanukkah, it's related because the Shabbos of Hanukkah has the same Haftarah. He asked the question, why are we reading Roni Bas Tzion? And he explains that Bas Tzion is related to Golus, Tzion is related to the time of Beis Hamikdash. He explained it there. And the Rebbe asked, okay, so if Bas Tzion represents time of Golus, when the Jews are in Golus, this is his first question. He says, if the Bas Tzion, the daughters of Tzion, represent the Jews in time of Golus, why is it the Haftarah for this week's parasha, where we're reading this parasha after Shavuos, it's the time of freedom, and there's seemingly no connection to Bas Tzion being representing Jews in Golus, to now, which is to the time after Shavuos, which is representing freedom. So that's the first question. And the second question, the more deeper question, is Bas Tzion. The second question is based on a midrash, where midrash going on a pasuk from Shir Hashirim, the pasuk from Shir Hashirim saying, "Tzei'na v'reina b'nei Tzion b'melech shlema ba'Torah she'Torah lo yimai." Daughters of Tzion, go out and see the King Shlomo being crowned by the crown of his mother. I always get it wrong. It's more with the crown that his mother crowned him. That's more accurate. All right. So there's a midrash, and it brings a marshal of a king where he adopts this daughter, or this girl, and he first calls her my daughter, then my sister, and then my mother. Biti achoisi imi. And the Rebbe goes on to explain what that means, Alpi Chassidus, according to Chassidus, where it's the three aspects of our service, which is performance of mitzvos, learning Torah, and Mesiras Nefesh, sacrifice of the soul. The Biti, the daughter, is the performance of mitzvahs. Why? Because it's a level of a makabel, of a receiver. Because when performing a mitzvah, you're receiving the energy, hamshacha, you're drawing down energy and receiving it. That's how he explains what the biti is and how it's related to performance of mitzvahs. That's the daughter, the makabel, the receiver. Then learning Torah, it's on level of brothers, and we become brothers and friends with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, with Hashem, and that's the level of a sister, brother, sister, the same thing. And lastly, it's the Mesiras Nefesh, sacrifice of the soul, which is represented by the imi, the mother. Why? Because the mother is giving. It gives to the children. And in this case, it was giving to Hashem. We're the mashpia to Hashem. How? Because when we're doing Mesiras Nefesh, it doesn't really, the Rebbe didn't explain why, how it's giving to Hashem, how it represents us giving to Hashem, but Mesiras Nefesh is the idea of we're giving to Hashem. And what did he bring this? How did he relate this to what we're saying? He goes back to the pasuk that the midrash is talking about, with the being crowned with the crown of his mother, or again, being crowned with the crowning of, again, ba'Torah she'Torah lo imai, being with the crown that his mother crowned him. There you go. So how is this relating? That whole crowning is us at Har Sinai, at Matan Torah, when Hashem gave us the Torah, and we said, Naaseh before Nishma, we will do and we will understand. And this was a level of self-nullification, a level of bittul, similar to Mesiras Nefesh, sacrifice of the soul. So this was us giving to Hashem. We gave Hashem a crown, so to speak. Okay? And we connected this back to also the Parsha, Ba'al Yisrael, not just the fact that it's after Shavuos, which relates it to Shavuos, but also the Parsha itself. You should bring up the candles. What is the candles? We said we connected it with a pasuk from a verse from Mishlei, where it says Ner Havaya Nishmas Adam. The soul of a person is God's candle. And what is just like a candle? Although you're the one lighting the candle, you're giving its life, you're giving its energy to the candle. In turn, the candle actually gives to you. It gives its life back, gives its light back to you. So too, similarly with us and Hashem. Hashem gives us His life, gives us our life. We're enlivened by Hashem. We're given the energy. We're given existence by Hashem. But in turn, we're giving back to Hashem just by existing and doing Hashem's will. Okay. So in terms of the parsha, what the parsha represents, the Neres part, the candles, which is us, we're the candles that give lighting back to Hashem. We're level of mashpia, we're giving to Hashem. So the Shavuos, time of Shavuos, where we gave the crown to Hashem by prefacing Naisa to Nishma, we'll understand. And this week's parsha, it's all the idea, the inyan of Imi, the mother. So this is a deeper second question that the Rebbe brings. Why is the haftarah of this week's parsha Bas Tzion? Roni v'smichim Bas Tzion. Bas, the daughter. It's seemingly talking about the inyan of the daughter, the idea of the makabel, the receiver. So the Rebbe is asking, that's something we need to really understand. Why specifically this haftarah where it talks about Bas Tzion? Okay, so now. For those who are following in the text, which I put the link in the description of the video, as well as in the WhatsApp group chat, whoever has joined it, there'll be the link for the PDF file, or you can follow the text. So today we're going to go through Ois Gimel and Dalet, chapter 3 and 4, and this is where the Rebbe really answers the question. So let's go. We'll go into it. Gimel. The inyan and the inyan is, the idea is Shahamshacha Sha'al Yedei Kiyama Mitzvos Biti He Hamshacha Nailis B'Yisur Mehamshacha Sha'al Yedei Ha'avayda Da'achesi V'Imi. So this is the Rebbe is saying, why are we talking about Bas Tzion, daughters of Tzion, here? Because we're going to say that the daughter aspect is actually seemingly, we had like a hierarchy. It's daughter, seeming like the receiver is the lower end. Then we have the achaisi, the sister, and the mother on top. That seems logical. Mother is up on top. The giver is seemingly more holds more weight to it. And the makabel, it's a lower. It's on the lower end. Just by logic, it makes sense. But the Rebbe is actually now saying that the daughter aspect is actually greater. How? Because the hamshacha, we said the hamshacha is the drawing down of divine flow. So this hamshacha that's done through performance of mitzvos, which is what we said the daughter, the biti, is a hamshacha which is much greater than the hamshacha that's done through the service of sister and mother. When we do a mitzvah, when we do performance of mitzvahs, we're receiving a much greater divine flow from above, from Hashem, even more greater than the divine flow we get from learning Torah and doing Mesiras Nefesh, sacrificing our soul for Hashem. This sounds pretty novel. We're going to explain what this means. How? All right? Because, let's continue. Ki ha'avoda, the Mesiras Nefesh, which is the imi, the avoda, the service of sacrifice of the soul, the mother, and similarly learning Torah, which was the sister. Since that it, like the Mesiras Nefesh, sacrifice of the soul, and learning Torah, they are more of a spiritual service. There is to them a connection to the hamshacha, to the divine flow that's that's brought through doing them. The divine flow that we get by doing Mesiras Nefesh and by learning Torah, there is a connection to by doing the actual service of it and the learning of Torah, it's connected to the flow we get. We'll explain what that means. Okay, this is what it means. Since that the divine flow that's brought through, since that the divine flow that comes through the service of sister and mother, this learning Torah and the Mesiras Nefesh, it is like an arousal from above that's awakened, that's created and brought down through an arousal from below. It's a concept that's brought a lot through Chassidus and Kabbalah. Whenever there's an arousal from above, like Hashem giving His divine influence on us, it's usually comes about because of an arousal from below, meaning we do something down here that awakens Hashem to give this divine flow. So this is what the Rebbe is saying here, that the learning Torah and the Mesiras Nefesh, the divine flow we get from doing these services is only coming about through us learning Torah and doing Mesiras Nefesh. And he continues to say that the divine flow is only from the place that our efforts below reach there. Meaning, you're only going to get a certain divine flow based on how much Torah you learn, based on how much of your soul you're willing to sacrifice. The more Torah you learn, the more divine flow you will get. The more of your soul you'll sacrifice for Hashem, the higher the flow will come from. But it's limited. It's only wherever the person's able to reach there. That's what the Rebbe says. Okay? And now we're going to compare that to the divine flow from doing mitzvahs. So continue. The divine flow that's brought through performing mitzvahs, doing mitzvahs, that doing a mitzvah is dealing like a physical thing that's incomparable at all. It's incomparable to learning Torah and self-sacrifice of the soul. Incomparable, because those are very spiritual services, whereas doing mitzvahs, it's dealing with the physical things. So it's like incomparable. So the hamshacha we get through doing that, it's like an arousal from above, meaning the divine flow from above, that just comes from itself, meaning it's not dependent on what we do down here below. We'll explain more in depth what that means later, but pretty much compared to learning Torah and Mesiras Nefesh, it's spiritual services. So in order to get a spiritual energy, divine flow from above, we need to it depends on our toil below. That's what he's saying. But mitzvahs, it's something like not even in the same realm. It's not a spiritual avodah, it's a physical avodah. And even though it's something we're doing down here below, down in the physical world, it's because it's physical and it's not related to the spiritual. Therefore, the spiritual influence, the spiritual energy we get from doing the mitzvahs, it's not connected to the physical. So therefore, it comes from itself. It's just Hashem decided to give us a certain spiritual divine flow unrelated to the physicalness of the mitzvah. And then the Rebbe says, "V'lechein ha'amshacha hi ma'atzmus erein seif," that this divine flow is from the essence of the infinite light, which is, for those who know Chassidus and Kabbalah, know it's a really high level. For those who don't, it's a really high level in terms of divine flow. You have the tree of life, different stages of this. There's the 10 sefirot. Then you have, on top of the 10 spheres, you have the Ketzer, which is the crown, which has even higher levels. But so this Ma'atzmus Ein Sof, or Ein Sof, from the essence of the infinite light, it's a much higher level. That's all I guess we need to know to understand the idea there. So because the service is not related to the spiritual at all, therefore, this is what we're saying. Therefore, the divine flow, it's just coming from its own pure being and from this essence of, we could say it's from the essence of God. Okay? Now to continue, now the Rebbe will bring the continuation of this pasuk from the Haftarah, Roni v'Simchi. He goes, "V'zeu Roni v'simchi Bas Tzion ki hineni bo shchantei b'seichach." This is what it means when we say, "Sing and rejoice, daughters of Tzion, for behold, I am coming, and I am dwelling within you." What does this mean? That's the pasuk. That's the verse. Where do we say it's from? It's from Zechariah. We never said this, but this verse is from Zechariah, so it's very mystical. But what does it mean? So the Rebbe is saying shehinini ba kailol shnei inyanim, that this part of the verse where it says behold I am coming, it includes two ideas. Hinini muchan me'atzmi sheloi al yedei yisarus adolasata. So this hinini, behold it's behold I am ready for myself, that is not through your an arousal from below, meaning it's Hashem with it's the level of Hashem that's not dependent on the arousal from below, like we explained. And ba, like I'm coming, hinini ba, ani be'atzmi kiviyachol or enseif ba baruch hu mamash. I in myself, so to speak, into the infinite life blesses He literally. So just to make that sound more clear, because it's now might sound confusing. Meaning hinini ba. Meaning I am myself coming from the highest level, meaning Hashem from Himself, not Hashem from His expressions. Like I briefly mentioned, Hashem has different levels. We have the Sefirot, we have Keser. These are all expressions of Hashem, how He expresses Himself in certain ways in the physical world, even in the spiritual realms. But Hinini Ba means Hashem is coming from the level of Himself, how He is to Himself, not how He is expressed to outwards. So it sounds like an expression. He's coming to show Himself or be somewhere, but that's sort of like an expression. But it's coming from this highest place from Him, from the Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu Mamash, meaning the infinite light blesses He literally. So this is what it means that Bas Tzion, we said it's Bas Tzion is the performance of mitzvos. It's the what did we say? Bas Tzion. The Rebbe is just tying this all, like emphasizing how when someone does Bas Tzion, which represents the daughter, which is represented by performance of mitzvahs, the receiver, the spiritual divine flow that comes down through the performance of mitzvahs is much greater than learning Torah or sacrificing a soul, and which is expressed in this verse. Roni v'simchi Bas Tzion ki hineni bo shchantei b'seichach. Bas Tzion being performing mitzvahs, hineni bo, and I am coming from myself. Hashem is giving, because you're on the level of Bas Tzion, you're doing the performance of mitzvahs. Hashem is coming. Ani ba'atzmi or enseif baruch hu, meaning He's coming from this high level, this level of how He is to Himself, His essence. Okay, pretty deep stuff, but I hope you understood. If anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. I think the best way to reach out would be on the WhatsApp group chat. You can find my number there. I'm the only admin. That's me. So feel free to message me, call me. I don't know if I'll answer, but contact me. And if you're not understanding certain things, I can explain it to you personally, like through the message, or if I get enough of the same questions, then I'll just do it in a video. We'll see. But feel free to contact me. Weiter, let's continue. Okay? So now we're going to add another idea to this, to the high level of biti, of the performance of mitzvahs. Sha'mayla da'aveda de biti al ha'aveda da'achaysi ve'imi hi gam benagel la'adam ha'ovid. So the advantage that the service of this daughter, the performance of mitzvahs, has over the service of the sister and mother is also in relation to the person who's doing the service. Not just the service itself, but the person who's doing it. Okay? What does this mean? That the person who's doing this, the person in the avodah, in the service of the sister and the mother, the learning Torah and sacrificing the soul, there is a feeling, a small feeling of the existence of the person who's doing it. Well, I think the Rebbe will explain it more better than what I would try to explain it, but we'll continue and we'll see. So meaning, so there's a feeling of the person who's doing the service within his service, within his avodah. So Godol ha'ila da avodah shaloi, ha'ilu da avodah atzma, avodah d'etzek Torah, k'mo shekein avodah d'mesiras nefesh, va'ilu shenaisa ali da avodah say. Shenaisa ach la'kadosh baruch hu v'yisira b'zoi shemashpia k'vyachol ba'kadosh baruch hu. So it's how great is that he's the Godol ha'ila da avodah shaloi. Is how great the loftiness that's of his avodah, of his service. Meaning that the loftiness of the service itself, that the learning of the Torah, and even more so with the sacrifice of the soul, and also the loftiness that is being the greatness that's being done through his service, that he's become. The greatness of what becomes through his service, that he becomes a brother to Hashem, and even more that he becomes a mashpia, a giver to Hashem, so to speak. This is what it means. Like, okay, I'll unpack it a little bit because the language of this might be a bit confusing. At least the way I'm explaining, I'm translating. But meaning, when a person when he learns Torah, and when he does mesiras nefesh, he's sacrificing his soul. What it means, there's a small feeling of the existence of the person doing it, is that the person, he feels is like, I am reaching a high level by learning the Torah I'm learning. I am reaching a high level by sacrificing my soul. Even though it's all very spiritual, and the more Torah you learn, you think the more humble a person gets, or more, especially sacrificing the soul. And there's a level of humility, but the thing is, a person feels it in himself, that he's being humble. It sounds kind of like, what's the word? Oxymoron, I think. Like, it's two things don't work together. He is feeling that he's humble. Doesn't make sense, but pretty much when a person's learning Torah, there is a feeling like, wow, I learned this great Torah. When a person's sacrificing his soul for Hashem, he's like, he feels good. Like, wow, look what I just did. I sacrificed myself to do what Hashem wants. And it feels good, and nothing bad with it. It's just, there is a feeling of it. Unlike the Beti, which is what we're going to explain now. When a person, with the service of the daughter, the performance of mitzvahs, there's a feeling of his nullification. What does that mean? Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's a feeling of his nullification. And this is in relation to the service itself. So that the whole service of performing mitzvahs is only to fulfill what's been commanded by Hashem. And also, as well as it being related to the service itself, it's also related to the divine flow that's being brought through his service. We're talking about the bittul. There's the level of bittul. What's it being related to? So the bittul related to the service itself is, it's only about Hashem. Now Hashem commanded it, that's why it's being done, and also related to the divine flow that's being brought through it, the bittul that's related to the divine flow that's brought through this mitzvah by doing the mitzvahs, is the zeh sha'alidei came a mitzvahs nimshach atzmos and safe hu loy mitzad inyanei shel ha'adam hamakayim es mitzvahs ela mipnei sha'mitzvahs heim rotzen v'tzivay ha'atzmos. That the reason that through performing mitzvahs, it brings down atzmos arin seif. We said it brings Hashem's highest level. The divine flow is being brought down from Hashem's highest level. Is not because of the person doing the mitzvahs, nothing to do with the person doing the mitzvahs, but rather it's because that the mitzvahs, they are the will and the commandment of Hashem. Meaning, the reason why a person gets this divine flow from doing the mitzvahs is not because he's a great scholar and he knows how all the intentions that's required for these mitzvahs, or he does the mitzvahs much more often and more frequent. Nothing related to that. Just because that's the commandment of Hashem. That's the only reason why he's getting this divine flow. It doesn't make a difference if it's someone, unlearned person who's wrapping tefillin, or a great Talmud Chacham, a great scholar who's putting on tefillin. The divine flow that's being brought down through the tefillin, it doesn't make a difference. It's only being brought down because that's what it's the person's doing it, because it's the will of Hashem. Okay, so that's why the performance of mitzvahs has a higher level of self-nullification. It's not about the person doing it; it's about Hashem. Whereas learning Torah and sacrificing the soul, although ultimately it should be with the same intention, it's more of the dependent on how much the person learns Torah, how much Torah the person learns, how much he's willing to sacrifice his soul, and therefore the divine flow that's being brought down is just dependent on really what he does. It is dependent on him, so he does have that feeling of him. Whereas the performance of mitzvahs, it doesn't depend on him, the person doing the mitzvahs. It's just the mitzvahs itself. So v'yesh lemer, let's continue and finish this chapter. V'yesh lemer de'al yidei habitul hu na'isa kli la'er shenimshech al yidei mitzvahs. So we could say that through the nullification, the self-nullification, through this nullification, it creates a vessel for the light that's being brought through the mitzvahs. When the self-nullification that surrounds, encompasses the whole idea of performance mitzvahs, if it's done correctly, just because it's the will of Hashem, this creates a vessel for this divine energy to be brought down through the mitzvahs. Meaning, like, if a person doesn't have the correct intentions and they're doing mitzvahs just because they feel like doing it, or I don't know, someone bribed them. He's like, "Here, put on tefillin, I'll give you $50." It's like they're doing it for their own benefit. Therefore, it's not the same because they're making themselves the vessel for the $50 that the person bribed them, or for the good feelings they have. If they have a good feeling when they do mitzvahs, but if they're doing it just simply because this is what Hashem commanded, they're making themselves a vessel to receive that light, that godly energy from that level, from that divine level of Hashem, from His essence. This is what it means in the end of that verse, where it says, "Behold, I am coming, and I will dwell within you." What does that mean? That this divine flow that's coming from Hineni Ba. What did we say Hineni Ba is? It's that highest level of Hashem, meaning Hashem has as He is to Himself, His essence. This flow that's coming from this flow of His essence which is Ani Ba'atzmi Kiviyachol. The Rebbe just reminded everyone what it means. This Him in Himself. This divine energy is Hi B'Seichach B'Penimis. It's coming within you, the person doing the mitzvahs, in his essence, not just like it's not a lower level of a divine flow, meaning from a lower expression from Hashem, and it's also not just like something that's the person feels for a certain period of time, meaning it's penetrating him, it's really becoming him. When a person does mitzvahs on this humble level, where it's just because it's the commandment of Hashem, is receiving this level of Hashem, of His the essence of Hashem, and it's coming and internalizing within him, and it stays with him if it's done correctly, if it's done with the right intention, if it's done on the level of Bas Tzion, Bas meaning the daughter, the receiver, the Makabel. Okay. That, I believe, might have been the deepest chapter of this Maamer. We'll see, but hopefully you understood it. Now we'll go on to chapter Dalet, chapter 4. Okay? We need to understand. Okay? The Kevin she'im hi avodah the mesiras nefesh. The mesiras nefesh hu inyan habitul. ובפרט לפי המובא לעיל בסעיף בייס, דעתרא שהתורה בכנסת ישראל אמר לקדוש ברוך הוא על ידי שהקדימה נעשה לנשמה, שהביטול דהקדמת נעשה לנשמה הוא הביטול לבעל הרצון. Maya Maila ba bitul the biti ala bitul to imi. Okay? We have like an elephant in the room. The imi, which is what we said, Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras sacrifice of the soul. This is also an idea of bitul, of humility. It says more specifically how it was brought in last video, where we said the crown that the Jews crowned Hashem when we became that level of the mother, when we crowned Hashem by prefacing Naisa L'Nishma, we will do before we will understand. That the bittul, that the nullification, the humility that was done through the prefacing of Naisa L'Nishma is a bittul l'balarote, meaning it's a nullification to a balarote, meaning the translation is the master of the will, but meaning like God Himself. Yeah, Hashem has His will, and He is the one who has the will. So there's the will, and then there's Him who has the will. So balarote meaning Hashem. So this bittul, this nullification that was done by prefacing Naisa L'Nishma, we'll do before we understand, is a nullification towards Hashem. So what is more advantageous with the nullification of the daughter of performance of mitzvahs over the nullification of imi? I mean, we explained a little bit in this previous chapter that there is a feeling of the person who's doing this Mesiras Nefesh. It's not like a. We mentioned a little bit that it's not really. Meaning, there's a feeling of himself, like he's doing the Mesiras Nefesh. We'll explain that more in depth now. Okay, that was kind of like a how do we say it? A sneak peek at this chapter, and what this chapter goes, because this is what the chapter is going to talk about. We're comparing two levels of bittul, two levels of humility, and right now the question is, why is humility of performance of mitzvahs greater than the humility that's done through sacrificing the soul? Seemingly, sacrificing the soul is the greatest humility of all. You're going to sacrifice yourself, all your desires and wants and needs, just for Hashem. Seems like the greatest nullification. But let's see what the Rebbe says. Okay? So v'yesh lemazeh, we can say with this. Shabitul de hakdamas Naisa L'Nishma, hu sheYisrael kiblu aleim al malchus shemayim. That's the answer. This is it. We can say that the nullification of prefacing Naisa L'Nishma, of prefacing we will do before I understand, is that the Jews accepted on themselves the yoke of heaven. That the Jews, they did it. Meaning, v'lachein, therefore, af sha'bitul de kabbalas el malchus shemayim hu lo rak b'nageh l'keich ha'maisa shaloi sheyaseh kol ma sheyitztaveh ele gam be'etzim mitziosei shekol mitziosei hu zeh shehu avdei shel hamelech melech machem makadosh baruch hu. So even though I'm going to explain like what does it mean that the Jews accepted, what does that mean? Why does that diminish the bittul, the nullification of the level of mother over the level of daughter? Is even though the nullification of accepting the yoke of heaven is not only in relation to the power of his doing, meaning that he does all what's commanded of him, but also in his essence, the essence of his existence. The essence of his existence is to do, meaning his soul is to do all that Hashem's commanded. It's what he's like created for, what he was designed for. So that his whole existence is this, that he is a servant of the King of Kings, Melech Malchem Malchem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning the King of Kings, Hashem, blessed be He. This is his existence. His existence is to be a servant to God. This is the existence of a Jew. This soul is just to be to do what Hashem desires. But so even though this is such a great level, just his existence is to be this servant, and this is what was achieved by prefacing Naisel and Ishma, we'll do before we understand. They call Mokim, nevertheless, Kivan Shakabolas, El Machashmaim, Bar Mitzad Ha'adam, Shahu, Kibal Alav Lias, Avdei Shalamelech, Hare Bebitel Ze, Reves, Gam Mitzvos Shaladim. Okay? Nevertheless, so even though such a great thing that his whole being should be to do what Hashem desires, nevertheless, since that the acceptance of the yoke of heaven comes from the person, meaning that he accepted on him to be a servant of the king, in this bittul is mixed his a little bit of like his existence, meaning I am nullified to Hashem. I am going to be a servant to the king. That's not the real bittul. It's not about me. Like, look at me. I'm nullified to Hashem. I'm doing what Hashem wants. It's shkeach, thank you, but it's not real bittul. It's not the true nullification. This is what it says here in the brackets. It's related to all cases of Mesiras Nefesh, which is the level of the mother. Is that the Mesiras Nefesh, sacrificing a soul, is the nature of the neshama. The soul inside a person, inside me, inside every Jew, naturally wants to be a servant of Hashem. Naturally wants to sacrifice himself to Hashem. So Baruch Hashem, there are times when that comes out, and some people they do it constantly. But nevertheless, why it's not a true bittul is because it's related to him. It's related to the person, the unique neshama of him, him deciding to do it. It's great, but there is a bit of him involved. Unlike biti, which is va'amitis habitulhu kashabitulhu mitzad adon. The true bittul, the true nullification is when the nullification comes because of the master, because of Hashem. Meaning performance of mitzvahs. This is like the level of biti. Biti, the daughter, is the receiver. And we're going to say in the next chapter, which will be in the next video, that a receiver, they don't have anything to themselves. They're nothing. They're like lahavdil. Just like I'm not saying we're actually we're not like a. I mean, we are compared to Hashem. We're like dust. We're like dust to Hashem. Nothing. Yet we're doing everything what He wants, not because look at me, I'm doing what Hashem wants, but this is what Hashem wants. This is what we're doing. So that when the nullification comes from that point of view, it's because of the master, because he wants it. That's a greater bittul. So now this is the last few lines of this chapter. V'yesh lemet, we could say, Tezehu ma'ashekasuv ki li b'nei Yisrael avadim avdei hem asher ha'tzeisi ayis me'at Mitzrayim. Tezeh sheYisrael hem avadim shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo rak mipnei shehem kiblu malchus eis baruch. אלא מפני שהקדוש היציאה יסע מארץ מצרים שעל ידי זה הם מוכרחים להיות עבדים. We could say that we have this verse in Parshas Bahar. There's a verse saying, for me the Jews are servants. They are my servants that I took them out of Egypt. What does that mean? It's that the Jews, they're servants of Hashem. The fact that they are servants of Hashem is not only because we accepted on ourselves the heavenly yoke, is also because Hashem took us out of Egypt. Hashem taking us out of Egypt, by Him doing that, it forced us to be His servants. This verse says, there's actually a footnote about it. There's two aspects. It's Ki li b'nei Yisrael avodim. The Jews are to me are servants, meaning that's the aspect of we accepted to be Hashem's servants. But then he goes, they are my servants because I took them out of Egypt. Meaning the real reason why we're Hashem's servants is not because we just said, I love Hashem so much, I want to do everything He wants. But it's just because Hashem decided this is what you're going to do, whether you like it or not. It sounds harsh, but this is the reality. Hashem took us out of Egypt. He made us a nation, and we became His servants just because of that. Yes, we did accept it on ourselves. That's a great level on its own. There's lots of pieces of Chassidus where it explains that in depth and how great that is. but in reality, but like just on the reality of it, and the ultimateness of it, ultimateness, if that's a word, is that our existence, that we're servants of Hashem, is because Hashem decided. And just the last few words, that this whole idea was brought down primarily in the time of Matan Torah, the time of giving the Torah. But like what this means is that even though we said Na'aseh Nishma, we said we will do and then we will understand. And this was the aspect of Mesiras Nefesh. We said, Hashem, we're for you. We're doing what you want, even if we don't understand. We will understand it later, but first we will do what you want. This is great, but this is the people that chose to do it. But Hashem didn't give us the mitzvahs because we said we will do and we will understand. Hashem gave us the mitzvahs because He made us His nation. And that's why we do mitzvahs, because Hashem decides that's what He wants. And this is the true bittul. Because we're doing it, because Hashem decided. Not because we want to, because Hashem decided. So this is why the nullification of the daughter is greater than the nullification of Imi, although it's great on itself. Okay? Now, we're going to hold here. Just a little teaser. Next video, which B'ezrat Hashem should come out in the next day or two, we'll finish up the Maamer, and it will kind of wrap up this whole idea why the daughter is greater than the greatest level, especially on the level of being a servant to Hashem. And then the last chapter, I think I said this in the first video, the last chapter is, for me, it's like the cherry on top. It's the tying the bow on the present. It's just makes it really amazing for me. This is it's the reason why it's one of my favorite Maamer. And it will, what I just might have said now, like at the end of this chapter, might have sound harsh and like possibly a little bit of musar. Chas v'shalom, this is all Chassidus. But what I will say at the end will actually help it out. It's not what I'm saying, it's what the Rebbe is saying, but it will make it really good. But we'll leave it at that. Good night. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you understood. Again, if you didn't understood, feel free to reach out. And also, send this out to people who you might think might appreciate this and might not just necessarily might appreciate it, but might gain something from it. This is the whole intention of these videos, is to share it out to people so people can learn Chassidus in a very accessible way. It's the YouTube, the WhatsApp. Hashem will grow this to many places. And thank you very much. Have a good night.